Okay, good evening, Earth. This is Adam Sturch broadcasting from the Mushroom Mansion House, New Mexico, working on oil painting Ferris wheel. Alright, tonight I'm just going to do some real simple glazing to set it up for the next step. I'm going to take some bright red and hit all of the white areas and sort of make the city glow sort of reddish. And I'm going to extend that glaze light around the figures and the purple white edges that are exposed still along the figures and the gondolas of the Ferris wheel. And then I've had some phthalo blue for these cloud edges and a little bit of yellow for the street lamp and the remaining edges of the moon. So here we go. Just one seed of primary red mixed pretty thinly, so it's kind of like ink. So be careful not to let it drip all over the place. Even if it drips a little bit, that's okay. At least for this painting. Rebuild the Ferris wheel struts anyway, so it runs a little better up.
Time the flags rotted off of their antennas, they were questioning who the real threat is. Big brotherly love is a 21st century's plague. No matter how bloody the glove, question evidence displayed. Don't forget what 2 + 2 equals. Don't let them upgrade the math. No matter what they have is proof of evil. Remember when they went after the Jewish people? Don't recognize the same black mask as see-through attack of the eagle. If they don't fall dead before they reach me, I'm dead. If I don't shoot on this bald head, fuck what we force fed. All I ever wanted was a warm bed and house that wasn't haunted. I'd rather die for the cause than to die just because we exhausted natural resources, forcing to war. Restoring wasteful ways, keeping other countries poor. Monkey see, I wonder what that fucking monkey saw. Keep rethinking, still frames in your mind. I guarantee they will change with time. Your outline is pixelated, poor resolution. While downtime is simply wasting you a born execution style. First you try, second the motion to the jury's bored to death and put you on making an ocean. Situation volatile, the naked biology is trying to find the right clown costume to make his father smile. So he bombs while he tries to tell jokes. Ain't for so long, can't you smell the smoke? You really know the fire when the body sells folks. There's no escaping ass kickings and the signs of war. Replacing apples with hospitals, with doctors, a hostile, killing two pterodactyls with one fossil. I got you. If they don't fall dead before they reach me, I'll be damned if I don't shoot one in his cold head. Fuck, we were forced fed. All I ever wanted was a warm bed. Not so much in my head. You get some from apples to have your fingerprints match. Descriptions of different criminals committing innocent acts of compassion. Tired civilians crawling with pistols. We fire $1 million boy missiles. What's the issues in the back of your head with eyes roll? Brainwash yourself out of that mind control. Act a fool like you're told, but we won't see no justice till that bitch moves a blindfold. This ain't a love that don't leave it, it's a change of the losing. I won't sing the anthem of a nation who never faces the music. Chasing an elusive caveman in spaceships and mixed trips. Who the pinkies at a name brand. Taking progress gon' be in advance. Enough to change a posture or our instincts. They got the key to the city, still they prefer the break and entry. Ducking beyond shedding light inside the shadow box and make it empty. The masters are back, and they're up to no good, just like the old days. They were dead when you stood over their graves. They played dead when you stood over their graves. You know, everybody, the masters are back, and it's our turn to stand over their graves. You know, I'm gonna do it right this time, right this time. I'm gonna wait until they're still here. It's a track of the Eagles. They ain't fall dead before they reach me. I'll be damned if I don't shoot one in his bald head. Force fed. All I ever wanted was a warm bed. There's nothing scarier than the human stories I tell ghosts. Chilling the couch with my tongue broken the bedpost. But the thoughts is a purpose. That's when the curtain close. Shows a heartlessness that doesn't register on stethoscopes. So you bolster a homeland's killing chart. Till your sense of self broken, no man's building a heart. Preventive detention to the folks who never left home. Tensions have grown 24/7 right zone. Scare tactic got you under control. Fear factor, the color code. The uppers know they can't hold you down without you having anchors attacked. So they said, nah, broken chains and anchors don't match. So drag your torso back to the off-road. We have lost the fashion battle, but we ain't lost the wardrobe. We're the window shopping for your next 3 years. When we start the revolution, all we probably do is steal. Hey, body, the masses are back. And they're up to no good, just like the old days. They play dead when you stood over their grave. They play dead when you stood over their grave. You know, hey, body, the masses are back. And it's our turn to sing over their graves. You know, I'ma do it right this time. 'Cause I'm awake, I'm awake, I'm awake, I'm awake, I'm awake, I'm awake, I'm awake.
Well, that's working pretty good. Alright. Good, good, good. I like that. Alright. This is the first of many layers, I think. So, letting it run and drip and move around the edges is going to be kind of nice, actually. Nice. That's good for that. Yeah, it's a little thicker than I wanted. see if it grays out a little bit. This way. Just let it. Go back over until it's right.
Every now and then when I remember to be
of what was going on as paradox, coincidence, and general synchronistic strangeness began to asymptotically increase, and into the vacuum left by the collapse of reason rushed a staggering array of exotic intuitions about why things were as they were.
Alright, I think I'm going to fuck with this just a little bit more. So I'm going to pick up with the second take. Coming up, take two. Take two. Alright, so what will be next? I think you should take the blue. This side of the gondola shadow. Not the side. The other side of the gondola. It's gonna really cancel out.
On the morning of the third day following the experiment, shortly after breakfast, Dennis announced a new teaching. This was that one could see any point in time by closing one's eyes, visualizing an 8, turning it on its side so as to approximate the sign for infinity, then mentally sliding the two closed rings over each other to form a circle, then shrinking the circle to a dot and thinking the word please and the target point in space-time. Usually I knew not whence these images came to him. However, this time I was amazed, for I recalled with perfect clarity that 6 weeks before, shortly before I left Vancouver, British Columbia, where I was then living, I had gone to a dentist as part of the standard pre-travel tune-up. While in the waiting room, I had read a several months old journal of some Canadian Education Association. In that journal, which I had not discussed with anyone, was an article, very short, about teaching machines and very young children. The picture this scenario with which the article opened, it may have even been called Picture This, was of a child looking at a figure 8 on a television screen, rolling it on its side, squeezing it together, etc. It was a bit of media flotsam that my brother, or something working through my brother, was able to lift right out of my mind weeks after I had forgotten it, something able to refashion and use the image in whatever absurd way that it would. Chapter 14, Looking Backward. 2 months after all of these experiences, around mid-May of 1971, I was moved to try to sum up the particularly bizarre and possibly physics-compromising incidents that I could then recall. Here is what I wrote at that time, a time when I was concerned to refute the idea that schizophrenia was a magic word explaining all that we had undergone. I have almost 2 months' perspective on the events surrounding our experiments at La Chorrera, and though I can clearly recognize that both myself and my brother evinced the classic symptomatology associated with the two generally distinguished categories of process schizophrenia, I am unable to make the assumption that our experiment was therefore nothing but two simultaneously occurring instances of schizophrenia. Rather, and with the full knowledge that such a position argues that I may still be experiencing residual symptoms of the illness, I maintain that we were in fact dealing with an objective phenomenon that, though of a highly peculiar nature, inexorably bound up with psychic processes, does have its basis in the molecular ideas we were in the process of investigating. As empirical evidence of this viewpoint, I mention the following points which seem to me to set our experiment outside the realm of mental illness. The suddenness with which the symptoms developed following our actual experiment. Within a few minutes after we completed our pre-planned experimental procedures, my brother began to disengage himself from the continuum of shared perceptions, and at this same time, I underwent a willing suspension of disbelief and began to experience the cybernetic unit that we had predicted would be a part of the effect we would cause if we were successful in our attempt to generate a superconducting genetic matrix harmony and bond. The integrated or dovetail aspect of our shared disassociation, meaning that though both of us were experiencing the symptoms of types of schizophrenia, the fantasy, the ideas, and the understanding which we were experiencing were shared, so that while my brother thought of me as the shaman messiah in all manifestations, I perceived him as the condensed mind lens making a return journey across the universe that might have been one logical outcome of our experiment. Each of us alone would have given the clear appearance of being deluded. However, each of us seemed to offer elusive proof of the correctness of the position of the other. I might add that though no one else could understand my brother's peculiar mental processes, I believed I could discern depth and an integrated understanding which seemed to be behind them. But at the same time, I understood that his apparent lack of integration was due to the fact that his thinking was moving backward in some fundamental way. In the same way that a film running in reverse seems to present a spectacle of wild and irrational confusion, yet manages in the end to have things in their proper places, my brother's ideas and physical movements seemed to me to be simply the exact reverse of logical expectations. Knowing that the brain seems to operate on the principle of a hologram, Dennis had speculated before our experiment that he might receive a reverse image of my brain-mind organization for a brief time during the experiment. In listening to his free associations after the reversal, I became certain that this had in fact occurred, but for a much longer time than we had anticipated. In fact, I still believe that our only error throughout this entire experiment and the events following it has been our inability to correctly predict the duration of the process. I believe that our understanding of the mechanisms of the process, aside from its duration, have been correct, though still incomplete. Time is still, in other words, the crux of this matter, and at times my brother's free associations consisted of incidents which I had experienced more than a year previously and more than 10,000 miles from where Dennis was then living, incidents about which I had spoken to no one. Dennis seemed to possess the ability to hear my mind working during the time after the experiment. I illustrate by recalling an incident when I was sitting outside of our jungle hut listening to his free associations, having noticed a few minutes before that his muscles were almost rigid with the enormous physical energy associated with some types of schizophrenia. I worried that he might at some future time resist my efforts to keep him from wandering away on his archetypal errands, which constantly motivated him to try to leave our immediate living area. It occurred to me that with such strength he could easily injure me or perhaps escape. While mulling this disturbing possibility for the first time, I noticed that Dennis had left his hammock and was standing in the doorway of the hut. In a perfect imitation of our father's voice, he consoled me with the spoken thought that Dennis is a good lad and would never do a thing like that. Another incident occurred 7 days after the reversal began. Dennis announced that at 11 o'clock that night, the good shift would appear. This was a reference to a kind of psilocybin-enriched hashish that Dennis claimed he had encountered a few months before in the States. This prediction of a material transmutation is not so odd when the alchemical concerns and ideas which led us into this experiment are recalled. After this conversation, Ev and I returned to the forest house for the night, and Dennis stayed at the river house. As was our custom, we smoked a bit of the local marijuana before turning in. During this process, a small fragment fell, still burning from the pipe, and as I picked it up to return it to the pipe, the characteristic odor of Asian hashish was very noticeable. I examined the pipe very carefully, and though no change in the physical appearance of the smoking mixture had occurred, It was now definitely to my own satisfaction and that of skeptical Ed behaving exactly like hashish, a drug absolutely unknown in the Amazon in 1971. This phenomenon persisted for about 5 minutes and then slowly faded, leaving us to the rational continuum of normal behavior of materials. It is to be regretted that this transmutation occurred with a substance where any skeptic will be at ease in venting his scorn. We are all familiar with the facile view that potheads can't think straight. But to anyone with in-depth involvement with these two substances, the difference is unmistakable. This experience contained a number of parallels to the Nijuli movement among the Lwangan people of Borneo, who in the early 1920s promulgated ideas centering around the claim that a piece of resin had suddenly become longer through the influence of a flute played nearby, and that the lengthening of the resin foreshadowed human immortality. Equally absurd and equally inexplicable was an incident that occurred on the morning of the 5th day. Dennis was sitting raving to no one in particular, with the normal camp life going on around him. I was sitting near the cooking fire, sharpening the expedition's buck knife. I listened while Dennis raved, scanning his ramblings for a hint of a message. Suddenly, I stopped my work. "Are you my tailor?" This in a strong English accent. That seemed familiar to me from somewhere. "All these reflections, see? It's me. But where is my tailor, my silly? Look at you. Why, you've got my knickers on." I blushed deeply. I looked at the ground and said nothing. I felt very boxed in. Dennis was imitating the conversation I had had with my little English friend after I had come looking for her and returned with her delirious to my room in Nepal more than a year before. The crazy conversation between she and I that I had never discussed with anyone save her was now booming out over our Amazon clearing in the mad voice of my brother.
Alright, took it off the easel there for a minute to speculate without splattering myself too severely. And I don't think I got a single spot. I mean, that's pretty good for slinging paint, kind of haphazardly, but made some nice star patterning above the clouds. I just had to clean up the clouds afterwards, so the stars weren't floating in front of it, and in front of them. And otherwise, though, I think that's a nice step in the right direction. Now the drips will be worked into the rest of the composition as it develops and I start detailing it. But that gets all of the colors pretty much blocked in and a nice sort of glow starting to happen where the glaze was just applied.
That theory yielded not only spectacular results, but a wave particle theory of the nature of time. We took that theory and were able to construe it using the energy maps of the I Ching into a demonstrable idea that within its own terms explicates the nature of time and space. We turned an intuition into an idea model which explains the interconnection of physical and psychological phenomena from the submolecular level to the macrocosmic. Was this simply a creative outburst, or was it part of a close encounter with the UFO enigma? After the first mushroom experience at La Chorrera,
Alright, so I think that sets it up for the next step, but that's it for the moment. So thank you for watching. That's Adam Sturch broadcasting from the Mushroom Mansion Taos, New Mexico, working on an oil painting Ferris wheel. Have a good night, Earth.